how does AutoCAD actually work? Let's start doing something. So I want to draw a line. I click the line command. AutoCAD now asks me for that first point. So what AutoCAD is asking me, that's fine. I understand you want to draw a line. Show me where that line is. So for simplicity's sake, these crosshairs represent my mouse, and I can pick a location in space, just any location, doesn't matter. And then with my left mouse button, I create a single click, and that locks that location in space. And now as I move my mouse, I would be creating this line by clicking again. So if I click that left mouse button, I now have a line segment that goes from there to there. And I could move my mouse again, and it's sort of like a rubber band effect, right? I'm stretching from that point, and then I can left click my mouse button and I can continue on. So I can do this forever. I could draw 5 million segments, but let's look at something, and you may have noticed there's been some green that popped up. So green is called an assistive tool with AutoCAD. And let's not kid ourselves. Space is a big place. AutoCAD is trying to help us choose locations in space. And one of those green assistive tools kind of comes up this way. If I'm close to drawing a horizontal line, one of these tools called Polar, which is function key 10, shows up to try and help me draw a perfectly horizontal line. The tool that is doing that is this one, Polar Tracking. So right now it's blue and it's on. I could simply click it and it goes off. But now that my F10 is turned off, I can be close to this and it's not going to work. So I could go back and turn this tool back on. And then by doing so, I get that assist again. Okay, this is to help me manage my choices with space. So I can click with my left mouse button, draw that line perfectly vertical, and now I could draw it perfectly horizontal. And then if I hit, instead of clicking this, which I just did, you see that the shortcut key is already highlighted. It says Polar Tracking F10. So I don't need to go down here to click it. I could hit function key 10 on my keyboard. Okay, and then if I try to draw this straight line, I can no longer do it. But if I hit F10, I turn it back on. But hey, let's take a moment to look at what happened on our command line, right? It says Polar off, Polar on. So everything that you do with AutoCAD goes through this command prompt. So whether I click it or hit function key 10, it doesn't matter. It will go through this command prompt. So I could draw another straight segment with a single click, left mouse button click, left mouse button click, and I have got this line work. Now, here's something that's going to affect my screen. Okay, what am I doing? If you got a wheel on your mouse, if you roll the wheel forward, you zoom in. If you roll the wheel outward, you zoom out. Okay, so we're using what's called a zoom function to adjust our screen. Another thing we can do to adjust the screen is by using that same wheel. If I press and hold the wheel, it turns into this hand. And then I can move to perhaps a more desired location, like right in the middle. To continue on, I could click with my left mouse button. I could do a non-straight line and click. And then I can say to myself, well, you know, I didn't want to do this. So there's a couple of things. And again, our focus should always be the command prompt. Now, I could just undo my latest segment by clicking this. So if I click this once, one segment is gone. I could click undo and another segment is gone. And then I could click it a third time and I undo it. But now I'm going to zoom out because I want to choose a different function, because beside the word undo is the word close. Now, close will make this line go from where we currently are and jump back to where we started. That's what close will do. So I could click the word. I was clicking with my mouse to do undo, but it's not a typo, it's not a glitch. You can see that there are letters that are blue. So again, here's that blue color. So if I were to type in just the letter U, I could undo one segment of my line and now move it up to here. So now I'm going to zoom out a bit because I want to show where this is. And then I'm just going to take my hands off the mouse and type in the letter C. Okay, I'm going to type the same as I see that blue letter and hit enter. And my line will jump and go back to where I started, and my command has finished. Okay, so that's how a command works with AutoCAD. Now, I picked it up off the ribbon, but I did mention before that everything goes through the command prompt. I could type in the letter L. Okay, and if I just type in that single letter L, look what comes up. If I look at that list, line is already there. Now, when I type something and this is what I want, this is what you don't want to do. You don't want to move your crosshairs here. It's just pointless. AutoCAD already understands what L is. That's why it activated line. And line is what I want to do. It's highlighted at the top of the list. So there's no need to do anything more in terms of making a decision. This is what I want. Now I want to actually execute this command. So I have two keys that I can hit that will activate it. I can use either the space bar or the enter key. So if I hit the space bar, I go back to exactly what I had before. AutoCAD is now asking me, where do I want to put that line? So I have to show AutoCAD in space, where does this line start? So I'm going to move my mouse, and then with my left mouse button, I'm going to click, and then I'm going to move my mouse and click, and you can see that the close option is not there. I need one more segment. Once I click like this using an assistive tool, then close shows up because it can go back to the beginning. Okay, if I did undo, there is no beginning to go back to because it will put a line right over top of a line, and that's duplicate line work. So AutoCAD won't do that. I need to have at least two segments, and then I can close my third one. As we move with this command, I'm moving my mouse, I'm clicking my left mouse button, I can create my line work, and I can say, well, I want to end it here. So if I want to end it, I can just hit my space bar or the enter key, and then that command will complete. And then I'm not in a command again. So you're either in a command or you're not in a command. And when you're in a command, you need to pay very close attention to what's being asked in terms of making it function for you. So we worked with line. whether it's up here on the ribbon or whether it's typed in here, it still works the same way. Now, here's a function key, right? Function keys will change look and feel. Remember, I had the F10 key that helped me with drawing my lines perfectly straight, horizontal or vertical, or not. So that's an assistive tool. We call that an assistive tool. But one of the function keys that we can choose is F2. Now, if I hit F2, I can roll up and see that everything I've done has been recorded. And if I want to get out of it, the escape key gets you out of things. So AutoCAD always remembers what we do. That's one of the great things about it. And having knowledge of that can be very useful. So we did L for line. So if I do L and spacebar, I can start myself a new line command. Now, let's try something different. Let's say that we wanted this line to connect to the end of my last line. Well, if I move closer, I get this green color. And again, this is an assistive tool wanting to help me, right? What it's helping me do is choose what it thinks I want. And that thinks I want is I want this line to attach to the very end point of this line. And by using this green, and I click my mouse, as long as that green is active, this line will in fact connect directly to where the last one left off. And then I could click with my left mouse button. I could use my assistive tool, draw a straight line. And again, if I could choose to draw a straight line, I can do that. And I could choose close. I could also just draw another segment. And now I'm going to choose close. And this time I'm just going to do it the other way again. I'm going to click the word. So if I click on close, it goes back to here where I started. It doesn't go over to there. It goes to here. And I've completed my command. And now AutoCAD is just waiting for me to do something. So AutoCAD's twiddling its thumbs saying, come on, give me something to do. Well, I mentioned that idea about AutoCAD remembering what you do. So if I hit my space bar, the last thing I did was a line command. So the space bar will repeat the last command you issued, right? So it was a line. So now I could start a line and maybe I want to attach to this. I use that assistive tool and then I wait for this assistive tool. Now I don't have to have my pointer right there as long as I get that little box, that green box and it shows up on my screen, endpoint. Oh, I didn't get it. So I didn't get what I want. So what do I want to do? I could cancel things, or I could just do U for undo, remember, or click the word. I'm just going to undo that and try this again. And there it is, there's endpoint, and I captured it. Okay, so I made a mistake the first time, and I captured it the next time. And I could say spacebar, I'm done with this command, but then I could say I want to repeat the command. So instead of typing L or going up to the ribbon, I could just hit my spacebar. And then now I can use that assistive tool and lock to one of my existing pieces of line, and then move to another, lock to that, spacebar, I end that command. Now, when we talk about this green assistive tool, this is function key 3, and the word is OSNAP, which stands for Object Snap. So Object Snap is something that allows you to connect your line work to objects that already exist. And this is an accurate way to draw. So this little green box shows up and highlights that the word endpoint. So the endpoint of this line is a snap point, and I can use that snap if I want by clicking it. And that functionality is function key 3, okay? This is the function that is controlling that box. And when I say shortcut and I use these function keys, they are on-off switches. So if you click them once, you turn them on, or you click them again, you turn them off, or vice versa. They always just cycle through on and off. So let's take a look at this. So right now it's working, okay? I can jump from one endpoint to another, but if I hit function key 3, I look down at my command prompt, now it says OSNAP is off. But now that I've done that, I cannot connect, and I rolled the wheel to zoom in. So let's say this is a problem now, and I want this line to connect perfectly. Okay, well, don't ever get lulled into doing this. I could say, look at that and say, you know what? I click there. That looks perfect. I'm going to hit the space bar and end the command. This is what I'm going to do now. While I have my crosshair lined up right here, I'm going to start to roll it forward to zoom in. Okay, and look how far off I am. Okay, when you zoom out, it can look pretty close to perfect, but when you roll and you zoom in, you can see that it's not. So again, this sort of demonstrates how powerful AutoCAD is in terms of space. Remember, you can go to the smallest details and you can go to the largest objects. But what if I wanted to go to, say, the middle of this bottom line? Or say the middle of this line. Okay, you see I'm going to roll the wheel to zoom in, and let's take a look at what's going on. So there's that little green box trying to help me with an endpoint. But what if I wanted to get it to the middle? Like let's say that's something I wanted to do. Well, that's something I can do, but right now I cannot. So I need to fine tune things. So I hit escape to cancel my command, and now I'm going to type in DS. So there's nothing really on the ribbon for DS. You have to type in drafting settings. That's what DS is for. Now, when I type in drafting settings, I can see here, there's Object Snap. It's currently check marked, so it's turned on. And the function key for it is F3. And I've got the center of a circle and the endpoint of a line. But what if I wanted the midpoint of a line? Well, if I select this now and click OK, I can now draw that L for line. I hit L spacebar. There's my endpoint. And now when I move down towards this line, I get a green triangle. I get the midpoint. So I can click that. I can go back to an endpoint, and then I could pick this midpoint if I wanted, and spacebar. I completed that. So that ends up being the way that you can have function keys for snapping with objects. It's called OSNAP and it's F3, but you can fine tune it even further with drafting settings. And here's a little exercise for going through circles. So we'll find the circle command up here. Right, here's where you'll find it. Now, when we look at things and we work with AutoCAD, everything is done in a method of geometry. Everything is about geometry. That's what our shapes are about. So we need to build our objects with geometry in mind. So I can build this circle with center radius, center diameter, 2-point, 3-point, tangent, tangent radius, and tangent, tangent, tangent. So what I've created in this exercise is a couple of different ways to make the circle. So what I'm going to show right now is something that we haven't seen. What if I click with my left mouse button on an object? It becomes highlighted in blue and it has these little boxes with it. And if I hit the delete key, that object gets erased. So this is how you can erase objects. You can click the object and you can select more than one object. And once you've selected the objects, you can delete them. Okay? There's another thing you could do. Instead of just selecting the object, you could also click your mouse one time and move your mouse, and you will get a blue window if you go from the left to the right. And anything that fits within that window will get selected. So within here, I've got all these lines and they're selected. I could hit the delete key. Now, I could say that, wow, I didn't want to do that. So AutoCAD has a command for that, and it's called undo. And that's the letter U for undo. Now, I hit the space bar to send that command, and my objects have come back. Now remember that space bar repeats what you did? I just did an undo. So what if I hit the space bar again? I'll repeat the next undo and space bar again. That will undo that first thing that I deleted. So another thing you could do is use the green window. And the way we activate a green window is you do a single click from the right side, but it works differently. I could make this window, and the selection of my objects will be based on anything that touches the window. So in this case, it doesn't have to fit inside the window, it just has to touch it. So all these items can be selected. Well, what if I wanted all these items, but I didn't want this circle in the center? I could hold down my Shift key and then click on that circle and remove it from being selected. That's something else you can do. So if I wanted to hit the delete key, I can, and that's gone. And I can do the letter U and bring it all back. Now, one of the things that might happen to you is this. You're going to click, and then you're going to kind of get this happening. And you're going to say, Frank, I'm not getting that window that you got. I'm getting this. Now, this thing is something that personally I don't like very much. And remember, I just did something. I don't want it. This is selected. I'm going to hit escape. What I want to do is talk about what actually happened. So instead of pressing and clicking, what I did in this case, when you get this, is you're pressing and holding the mouse button down. Don't do that. All that you do is do a single click. And I'm going to hit escape. What we call that is a lasso. Okay, it's a method of selecting object. It's called a lasso. And it also works in the green fashion if you make the same mistake. You click and you end up holding it. You're going to get this lasso. Okay, I don't know how to work with it effectively. I know how to do this. A single click, move, and a single click. That I can work with. I'm quite good with that. Okay, so in this exercise, what I'd like you to do is practice drawing some circles. So you could highlight the circles to get rid of them so that you can draw your own set. So I put them in here just so you can sort of see the way they should work. So I highlighted them individually and deleted them. And if I wanted to, I could try a center radius circle. And it's built geometrically, so these 2 points are here. And you can just click close to where you see it, and then move, and click. And you can do the other ones this way as well, but I would like you to work on this so the circle can be done 6 different ways. So for example, there is a 3-point circle. So if I wanted to do that, here's my 3-point circle. I pick one spot, I pick another spot, and then I pick that third spot. And that helps me draw those circles. What I want to do in this case is I want to issue my L for line command. So it's L spacebar. I'm going to pick a point in space. And let's take a closer look at some of these assistive tools. So this is helping me draw straight. And this is F10. That's helping me draw straight. I click with my left mouse button. Now I move into a vertical straight line. And the assistive tool helps me again. So I click. Now I want to draw a rectangle. So one of the things that's a problem is how far would this line go? And you know, if I pick here, this is not going to make a rectangle. So I'm going to do U for undo to get rid of that one segment. And now I'm going to use a new tool, and this one's F11. It's an object track. So an object track requires an object snap. So I've got this endpoint. Now I'm going to track it upward. So if I track it upward, I'm tracking this endpoint until, like a laser level, it clicks in where I've got two of these intersecting. And that tells me that this line length is now exactly where it needs to go. And I can click that, and I could click here and make myself a perfect rectangle. But I just want to point out one of the flaws that goes with this. Okay, I undid that, U for undo. Let's try this one more time. So I track my object, and I scroll up, and I start to think, geez, you know, I need to zoom in. So I roll that wheel on the mouse. I lose my track. It's not a big deal. I can reacquire it by going back down and tracking it back up. I can be way off and come back to it. It will work fine. And then when I get these two intersecting, I can click it, and then I could type or click the word close, and that works. And that gives me that rectangle.